It's funny how, paradoxically, we're more and more overwhelmed by information, and yet it's getting harder and harder to stay properly informed. Actually, it's a bit like food, man. The more choices there are in a store, the harder it is to eat well, man. I used to think cross-checking media sources would help you figure things out. Well, sure, the truth was only visible through the filter of their ideological bias, but since their perspectives were different, by combining them you could get a fairly accurate idea. So, let's investigate. It would be because of a pangolin, or else released from a laboratory. I'm not released from a laboratory run by pangolins. But today, I feel like they're all using almost the same opaque filter, hiding the truth to serve their own interests. And strangely enough, well, their interest is all the same. For a better future, respecting the opinions of the one who does the checks. Even online, it's getting harder to find reliable information, maybe because the same people are doing most of the checking. But immediacy means no one, regardless of side or ideology, corrects their mistakes now. It's like stupidity spreads more easily than common sense. Oh look, just like on television. In short, getting a clear idea has become an endless obstacle course. Actually, it's a bit like food, man. The more there are, that deja vu feeling, man. I'm high before I drive! Fortunately, there are some unchanging constants, even reassuring ones, like Christophe Barbier. At least with him, when he gives his opinion, you can be 100% sure it's good to think the opposite.
Should we bring back voting by mail? Of course we should.
Ah, so we're skipping the thesis, antithesis, synthesis approach. Guess that's overrated. We prefer closed questions. Straight to the answer, okay? Yes, it's okay. Fortunately, as a conscientious editorialist, he elaborates right after. For a minute, huh? Hey, don't mess around.
Mail-in voting ended in 1975 due to fraud concerns.
That was a good reason, but it's still a good reason not to return it.
More specifically, the Giscardian government feared that the communists, taking advantage of their networks in the post office, would sneak bags of ballots through.
Well, nowadays, the commies are less organized, that's true. There's less chance it would come from them. Hold on just a second, and there you go. That's one. I just hacked the computer that stores the presidential election results right before they announce them. And you know what? I quadrupled our candidate's score. Come on, 8 o'clock, listen to me this. 0%? Oh well, yes. 4 times 0 is still 0. But well, the fraud could come from somewhere else. There may still be several employees for La France Insoumise, the National Rally, or some Macronist executives. I don't know.
They're not smuggling bags of ballots opposed to those in power through the mail anymore. We're past that now.
Ballots opposed to those in power. That's what was scary. Fraud today would be more like ballots for those in power then, and that seems less serious to the barber. Anyway, we're not there anymore.
We're not there anymore.
That's what I just said. We're not there anymore. Honestly, I expected him to explain why yesterday's fear of fraud doesn't matter today. I'm not sure, for example, how security has changed. Because in the United States, where mail-in voting is controversial right now, and actually has been for a long time, we can see that it's not very secure. But no, he doesn't talk about it.
Now we need to restore mail-in voting, because in some regions getting around is difficult.
Less and less. We're not in Australia. That guy's definitely Parisian. How does he think things work in the countryside? Okay, Mom, Dad, I've packed my bag and decided I'm going to vote. So, it's Monday. I'll arrive Sunday morning or later and return at the end of next week. Okay? One of us has to go, right? Come on, should I bring you something? Batteries? It's actually rare for people to be completely unable to move. In France, we already have proxy voting, which is much safer, especially on a large scale.
And also in almost all of France for an elderly electorate. Going to the polling station is not easy.
As a humanist, he helps the elderly. He thought he was the barber of senile. But the thing is, the elderly, they want to go vote, they want to go out to do it. Maybe that's beyond this columnist, but people want to truly live, even if it changes little. Alright, so let's recap. I have my envelope with my ballot inside. Well, all I have left to do is take it to the post office. Who is... next to the town hall. Where the polling station is. Also, once again, we have proxy voting, where someone you trust goes in person to carry out the will of someone who can't travel, so no fraud. Or, at worst, and I really mean at worst, if the trusted person isn't really trustworthy. One fraudulent vote at a time, not thousands all at once.
When there's an epidemic, it's even worse.
Finally. We're getting to it. So, the ABCs of conspiracy theories are about figuring out the methods an elite uses to operate. Mass control occurs in 3 steps: problems, reactions, and solutions. The elite creates a problem so that, in response, people ask them what they're going to do to solve it. And then they propose solutions that align with what they wanted to do even before the problem came up. So, with some, we need a mail-in vote just because of COVID. How do you expect that to work? Proposing that now, knowing what's happening in the United States, is just irresponsible.
Be careful. There should be a distinction from the United States.
Still, excuse me, Mr. Christophe Barbier. It's true that if we can secure everything one way or another, maybe.
We must respect the election date. The postmark is proof you can't vote after that day.
But he's messing with us, actually, Bobby Boulet. He throws something out there, and to look fair, he balances it with nothing. That reminds me of someone. Yes! In the middle of the COVID crisis, on November 2nd, we closed the emergency room at Hôtel Dieu, the oldest hospital in Paris. But there's a catch. We're turning it into a gourmet restaurant. Like dog, like master. And the worst part is, I'm not making any of this up.
But voting by mail is a real ritual.
Well, no. A ritual is an established social practice. Voting is a ritual. It's a ritual for the elders to vote early when the polls open, then drink Macon at the bar until noon. Something that's never been done, or not done for 45 years, can't be called a ritual by definition. Like my ritual is listening to the French. That's a good one, huh, Jaco? If I were Parisian, I'd have a little ritual. It would be to make a little cream pie every morning and try to go pie a clown like Christophe Barbier. Because I tell myself that depending on the neighborhood, there must be quite a few of them per square meter.
Voting by mail is a ritual. You fill out a ballot and mail it in an envelope. It's less dehumanized. It's less desacralized than electronic voting.
He acts in such bad faith that eventually he makes a mistake.
It's less dehumanized, it's less desacralized than electronic voting.
That means it means that it's at least a little bit like that compared to regular voting. But just because there is something worse doesn't mean this is good.
With one click, you make choices without knowing if they're there too. There won't be any bugs or fraud.
There you go, that's all there is to say. He admits, perhaps unintentionally with his there too, that we won't know whether there will be fraud or not. Both with electronic voting and with mail-in voting. But well, one of them is less dehumanizing. So that's acceptable. No, but Christophe Barbier said it. Even if it's not perfect, you have to choose. So as long as we're at it, we might as well pick the lesser evil. And that's his best argument. It's a little better than electronic voting. I already have my doubts, but even so, when did we have to pick between 2 bad options? We're not in the second round of the presidential elections. The lesson is, to get a terrible creation in power, just introduce an even worse one as its rival.
Yes, quickly, let's reinstate mail-in voting.
No, let's not reinstate mail-in voting. First of all, because, as he himself said, we can never be sure that there is no fraud. And ultimately, it doesn't matter whether there is fraud or not. What is certain is that there will always be suspicion. Even according to the Carter-Baker Commission report on election reform, mail-in voting is one of the main sources of fraud. The commission urges a thorough reassessment of its pros and cons. Since 2005, nothing has been done. Trump aimed to limit mail-in voting, while Democrats promoted it, which was done a bit thanks to, or rather because of COVID. And when the people no longer trust their elections, that's democracy signing its own death warrant. You know, if democracy is dead, it could vote for Biden. Bam! You have to admit, the agenda is pretty odd. Proposing mail-in voting now is so stupid. Makes you wonder if it's now or never. Maybe next time, even as the deep state's protege, even with the unconditional support of all the media. Right, my Christophe. Come here, my Christophe. Come here. Maybe mail-in voting could help me. Honestly, it does kind of make you think of that a little bit. And to get back to the United States, we now know that there were indeed irregularities, largely due to mail-in voting. We don't yet know to what extent, we have to wait. But in any case, if there's one thing that's certain, it's odd how much we all want the same thing and how it affects the country. Isn't Christophe trying to get us hooked on barbiturics?
Perhaps the greatest paradox is Christophe Barbier himself.
We'll be the first to get tense.